You are now live with Dylan Kimlin.
Hello everyone, my name is Dylan Kimlin, the lead commentator of the Australian Pickleball scene, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's discussion is a big one, potentially the most important news topic we can discuss in Australian Pickleball history. And I'm not exaggerating with that. This, simply put, is a topic on Tennis Australia and their slow, inevitable approach to pickleball. Before I dive into it, if you haven't yet, please follow the social media pages, especially if you're from the tennis world. Hello, all of our tennis fans. Have a sticky beak and keep up to date with all news in the Australian pickleball scene. If you are new to my content, who am I? I commentate pretty much every tournament in the Australian pickleball scene. Been here since the inception of pickleball in Australia. Two-time director, former president of a club. Been covering our players for years now. And I cover the news. And today's news is giant. If you are someone that is sort of just a social player, a rec player, someone that may do tournaments but don't really keep up to date with the news, long story short, the Australian pickleball public have for a long time assumed that Pickleball Australia is the definitive represented national body of our sport. And the Australian government doesn't see that. So there's a thing called NSO, National Sporting Organisation, which currently in the Australian sporting sphere, no one has it. And both Pickleball Australia and Tennis Australia are vying for NSO status. Whoever gets NSO status, it'll change the shape of the sport as we know it. And obviously, as of now, as of recording, we all have been accustomed to the Pickleball Australia method of things, the tournaments, the constitutions that our clubs run with, curriculum for coaching and all of our juniors, everything we know it is PA. But until the government make a decision on NSO, as a player, it's kind of scary, especially if you run a club, if you are a business owner, if you are anyone that is financially invested in pickleball. This is a sphere that we need to discuss. Now, unfortunately, it's been kept in the dark, and I think it's time we bring it up. So I'm going to try and keep my opinion on this as neutral as possible. I know there's definitely some hot topics here, and as a result, no t-shirt time for this episode because of it. But I'm going to get the opinions of a ton of other people. I'm going to reach out to players, coaches, people that run facilities that have been both involved in tennis and pickleball, and also a little bit of padel. Now, padel, you might not even know what that is. It's effectively a sport that's like Spanish tennis. I play padel myself, and they are, ironically, very similar to pickleball in their development and growth within the Australian sporting space. They're very new, but they are run by Tennis Australia. So they're a great case study in that we can see how they're doing comparatively to how pickleball is doing with the, I guess, current administration. Now, I'm going to dive into some articles to begin with, just on the tennis side of things. How do they perceive pickleball? How are they getting involved? They've, up until before last year, they didn't really do too much. And then January onwards, they've been slowly building up. If you are a player that plays both tennis and pickleball, this is obviously very important for you. If you're a professional player, I think the pros, and I'm going to be honest here, I think the pros don't really care what the end result is. I think they, as long as they get their bag, they're happy. And cool. I'm not going to have an opinion on that. That's up to you guys and girls, what you may want to do. This is a huge talking point, and I think we as the public need to start talking about it. We need to start bringing it up, getting some opinions on this, and just chucking it out there in the zeitgeist and just, guys, what's going to happen? Because at the moment, it's an unknown that will quite literally define the sport as we know it. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't yet. Please follow and share this around. The more discussion we have on this, the more opinions we have on this, I think it's overall better for pickleball as a whole. So we're going to dive into, immediately to get us started, an article that was written on Tennis Australia. Now, I'm going to provide 4 examples from the Tennis Australia website. This is all public information. You at home can go and get this information via their various websites. And then I'm going to go through and do interviews and opinion pieces from a ton of people across different spheres of the Australian pickleball scene and the Australian tennis scene. And then you at home can form your own opinion. That's why I'm going to try and be as neutral as possible. I don't want to paint anyone in a negative light. I just simply provide the news and you do with it what you will. So our first article that we're going to dive into is relevant because it is from the TA website and it is via, it was done in January, so a little bit old as of current filming, but it is awesome to see. This is when I think TA really started to ramp up. They obviously had their AO Slam, which is their Australian Open Pickleball event. And this was an article written by a Sean O'Hearn. Hopefully I've pronounced your name right there, Sean. And it just gives you a little bit of an idea of where they're at. So they have immediately looped pickleball in with padel and pop tennis. And we can have a look at their perspective of things. Now, I will say, this is probably my one little opinion. This article is heavily pushing tennis over the other 3 sports. And someone that works in media, I can see it like clean as day. But it is disappointing to see sort of a negative connotation to these other 3 sports from the TA side of things. And immediately we can see that from the first sentence. So make no bones about it. This is how we're starting the conversation from TA, and we can jump into, I suppose, their perspective. So, tennis is still the world's premier racket sport. That's one way to start a conversation. But 3 related disciplines have been growing in popularity over the last few years: pickleball, padel, and pop tennis. I'll be honest, I don't even know what pop tennis is. I'm not a tennis player. I got into pickleball from playing baseball myself a long time ago, but I do play padel non-stop. So I can give a little bit of an point of view on these 2, but pop tennis I'm not going to have any opinion on. You at home, if you know what pop tennis is, you'll have your own point of view regarding that. So it follows once again, says it again. Tennis is still the world's premier racket sport. All 3 are played on a similar court with shorter racket and slower ball, making them accessible to a wide, not wider, range of participants. So I play padel. It is definitely not slower than tennis. It is flat out, negative connotations. Anyway, Dylan, stop. Try to be neutral. Recognizing their recent rapid growth, pickleball, padel, and pop have been showcased for the first time at the Australian Open, which I will say is amazing. Obviously, more eyes on our sport is just good for everyone. Pickleball. Played both indoors and outdoors on a badminton-sized hard court with a perforated hollow ball and featuring a simplified scoring system. I don't know, viewers, you at home, learning scoring is probably one of the toughest things for all of us. I think you at home would agree. Pickleball is easy to pick up, entertaining to watch, and most importantly, fun to play. With the inaugural AO Slam running from, there's the dates, that was when it was on, it marks the first professional pickleball tournament conducted during a Grand Slam event. And that was good wording, because obviously we've had a ton of professional events in Australia, but it was during the AO, including a $100,000 prize pool, transforming Court 3 into a hub of high-energy action. Now, I've talked to a bunch of the players and a bunch of the officials that were at this event. Sounds like it was a good time. The only thing was the broadcast needs to be better. TA, if you need commentators, yell out. Hopefully for their next one, if they decide to do it. The AO Pickleball Slam will showcase an elite roster of international and domestic talent, including Amelia Schmidt, at the point in time, Australia's highest rated female pickleball player. as well as a bunch of other players from other countries. Amelia, by the way, is doing amazing work with the APP, which today, as of filming, made it a big announcement. They're collaborating with the National Pickleball League. So it's pretty exciting, and Amelia is having a terrific career over in the States. We wish her the best of luck. So at this point of time of the article, Schmidt spoke to Tennis Australia about the positive impact the Pickleball Slam will have. Means the world to me, she said. I grew up in Australia playing tennis my entire life. The AO is such a special event for so many reasons. The fact that pickleball is being included in it is amazing. I really appreciate the recognition from Tennis Australia. Now based on the east coast of the States, as I said, she had a tennis-related injury, led to her becoming a professional pickleball player. Now, there's obviously a connotation from a lot of our tennis players, and it's a negative one of that pickleball's easy. It's a simple sport to learn. All the ex-tennis players play pickleball. And clearly, we can read between the lines here that Amelia was, at this point in time, the number one player, had a tennis injury, can no longer play tennis at a higher level, and immediately steps in to become the number one player in Australia. I played tennis at a pretty high level. I played in the junior ITFs. Once I graduated from high school, I took a gap year from uni, trying to go pro in tennis. Around June of 2023, I got bone stress in my elbow just from overtraining. It was actually my friend Andy Horridge, who obviously plays in the Major League Pickleball Australia, captain of the Western Vipers, who went to school with, who introduced me to pickleball. He lives in Perth, where pickleball is pretty prominent, and he asked me to play a tournament there. So I said, sure, why not? I'm injured from tennis. Once I started playing, I fell in love with it, and the rest is history. Pickleball, Schmidt says the pickleball is not only easy to pick up, but easy on the body, although she notes that there is a fair amount of skill required. Good of Amelia. She obviously tried to defend pickleball here. It's definitely better than tennis in terms of injury prevention. Any person can step on a pickleball court and play. Pickleball is like mini fun tennis. It definitely requires athleticism, but it's just not on brutal as the body of tennis. And I think everyone at home would probably agree with that if you played tennis. Probably significantly more cardio required. And the technical aspect of tennis is pretty crazy. We see that with our juniors. A lot of the juniors in Australian pickleball, I did an article on juniors recently, are coming from tennis to pickleball instead, because it's just the retention rates from our schools are finding pickleball significantly more, the higher percentage rates of our youngsters, because pickleball is just more, I guess as Amelia said, it's just fun tennis. So they're getting more involved. Within 2 months of taking up the sport, Schmidt was number one in Australia. That there is massive. I can guarantee you tennis players around the world were reading that, having a laugh. Definitely paints Australian pickleball in a negative connotation. Now, making a full-time salary and travelling to tournaments all around the world, she believes pickleball has wide appeal. Anyone can get into the qualifying and make their way to Championship Sunday at a professional pickleball event. Whether it's in the US or here, anyone can sign up for the National Pickleball League at that point in time, which is interesting. I don't think Amelia played for the NPL, but anyway, there are so many great opportunities that anyone can give it a go. While pickleball is well suited for social play, the pathway to elite level is gaining momentum. The establishment of the AO Pickleball Slam is cementing Australia as a destination for global touring players. Schmidt believes that Australia is doing all the right things for the sport to continue growing domestically on the professional circuit, comparatively faster than the US. I think Australia is definitely number 2 in the world in terms of pickleball at the point of recording, at the point of this article. We're starting to get the depth. We're starting to have players come across from Asia and start competing. We're taking that step pretty early on. Compared to the US, it took the US nearly 10 years to really get into pro pickleball. In Australia, it's taken us 4 to 5 years. Now we have players on a full-time salary, including myself. Good little article there. Definitely a lot of opinion in it, but at least it gives you an idea that, you know, tennis are actually starting to promote pickleball, which is, for a greater good point of view, it's there. That is definitely there. Now, keep in mind everything we've just read. Okay, so definitely some connotations there, padel. Now, padel, however you may pronounce it at home, new sport here in Australia, a couple of years younger than pickleball in Australia. It's obviously been around overseas for a long time. It's a terrific case study for us at home because effectively the way I see it, you got tennis, which is like, I don't know, the dad, if you will. Pickleball's the ugly, unwanted cousin, and padel is the foreign uncle coming in from another country. It's how the family hierarchy is. Now, and badminton can just be the people that step around the court like crazy and just whack everything really hard. So, padel is painted really positively here. And keep in mind, Tennis Australia are the national body for padel. So, once again, we're looking at comparisons here. A fusion of tennis and squash, padel is a dynamic racket sport played on an enclosed court with glass walls, which players can use to strike rebounding shots, adding an extra layer of complexity and excitement. With a similar scoring system to tennis and primarily a double sport, padel emphasizes strategy, precision, and teamwork. Proof of its growing popularity, the number of padel courts, clubs, and players is on the rise in Australia, and associated development pathways have been established. Not a single negative connotation as of yet. The pinnacle in Australia is the Australian Padel Open, which finished in Sydney earlier in January. On a global stage, Premier Padel is the tour for the elite level. They had a big event. They had people coming. Bunch of talking, very positive. Having made the swap from tennis to padel only a few years ago, this particular player is passionate about the sport, advocating for players of all levels to give it a go. Padel is so social and beginner-friendly. The community is welcome. It's easy to pick up. You can have a great game with players of all levels. Just find a club, start playing, and you'll love it. Padel, as someone that plays both pickleball and padel, the community is near identical. Very friendly, very welcoming. Probably a little bit more party-centric than pickleball. Probably a younger demographic, but it's so much fun, and it's interesting. I think pickleball and padel should really be working together because we have very similar outlooks on things. We're both new to Australian racket sports. We both require our own facility, I suppose, our own courts, and just that, like I mentioned, the communities are very similar. Time will tell whether that sort of pans out. Now, the article overall, you can find this on the Tennis Australia website. Yeah, interesting. Tennis TA have made it abundantly clear that tennis is number one, and these other sports are additions. Now, Tennis Australia on their website are slowly ramping up. They now have their own coaching courses. So, Pickleball Delivery course, which you can find once again via the Tennis Australia website, is growing in popularity across Australia, with many tennis venues now offering pickleball courts for booking. For deliverers, this provides an opportunity to connect with new players and members and offer pickleball along with your other offerings. So one constant theme we're going to find here is that tennis is always the top priority, but if you want to, you can provide pickleball or padel. And if you want to do that as an additional source of revenue, this is how. This course provides an introduction to the sport of pickleball, demonstrating how it's played and the rules. It'll also introduce you to strategies for delivering pickleball and integrating a new sport into your business model. Literally what I just said. This course should take you about 60 minutes to complete. That's good to know that you can learn the entire sport of pickleball and all of the rules in 60 minutes. And you should be able to explain the basic rules of pickleball and know where to find more info, describe strategies to implement pickleball into your coaching business, and create plans for delivering pickleball based on your coaching practices. And then there's all the various places to find it. So it's one thing that, if we compare TA or just tennis in general to pickleball from an organizational point of view, and this is probably one of the negative aspects of the way we are run currently, is that Pickleball, for the longest time since I've been involved, is a voluntary sport. Presidents are volunteers. All of our committees are volunteers. There's very few paid staff people in Australian pickleball at this point in time. Tennis, however, multi-million dollar space. They have staff everywhere. They have paid staff. They have paid referees. They have paid players. They have paid everything you can think of. It's its own industry, tennis. And as such, things like this are child's play to Tennis Australia. They can just create $100,000 tournaments. They can create coaching courses. They can create curriculum with the drop of a hat. And that is probably going to be the biggest battle for the current governance of Pickleball Australia, in they are going up against an absolute titan. And Pickleball, and from an NSO status, the government would be looking at things like this, looking at the current, how things are being run. And I think that is, depending on your side of the avenue where you might look at, tennis probably has the advantage, Tennis Australia, because they just have a wealth of money and they have so much experience from governance point of view, administration staff, and just in general locations that, you know, this NSO discussion becomes a lot more deeper than you may have realized initially. Now, TA have a whole bunch of articles. They have a bunch of guidelines regarding they've done the 3 Ps again, and they've included beach tennis on this. This PDF is available via the tennis.com.au website. So, complementary formats. Once again, tennis is number one. Everything else is additional. Over the past 2 years, TA have developed and delivered a strategy focused on the identification, introduction, and integration of emerging racket and paddle formats. Observing global participation trends, as well as compatibility with tennis and tennis facilities, TA has focused its efforts on padel, pickleball, pop tennis, and beach tennis. Comparative to tennis, these formats all share the playing properties of smaller court, shorter racket, slower ball, aka easier, making them highly accessible to a broad range of participants. TA recognizes the positive impact complementary formats can have on the sustainability, accessibility, and vibrancy of our tennis network. Now, I've worked in tennis facilities. Pickleball, I don't want to say saved those clubs. That would be probably a stretch. But from a business point of view, they make a good profit from pickleball. Tennis Australia has clearly recognised this and wants to get on board. I understand, from as a business owner myself, it just makes sense. It's revenue. So Tennis Australia supports the strategic integration of the formats to attract and retain players, increase court utilisation, and improve the sustainability of our venues. Now, this here is a big one, the big one. It is recommended that the integration of these formats not come at the expense of well-utilised tennis facilities or tennis programming. You cannot have a dedicated pickleball or padel facility. Tennis is number one. That's clearly demonstrated. Complementary formats, once again. Tennis is number one. Everything else is complementary. Information there on padel. There's all of your, what you're going for. Target audience, young adults and adults. So that's pretty interesting. I've played padel with people of all ages. So, yep. Pop tennis, and then there's pickleball here. Originated in the US, identified as one of America's fastest growing sports. And they have all of the information there. Just saying, TA, for your future info, do it in feet. Just doing it in feet is a billion times easier. It's an American sport. Use their measurements. Our tape measurers have feet on them. It's way easier doing 20s and 40s than a 13.41. Now, though it's ease to learn and play, organic growth is occurring in Australia both within and outside tennis facilities. Target audience, late adult. So even though we just saw an entire article with Amelia Schmidt, who is not an elite adult. We're going for the older demographic, according to TA. Now, they have all the information here. They're still calling it a racket. No good. Bits and bobs. Scoring. So first to 11 points, win by 2. Points are only scored by the serving team. So this could just be a lack of education on this particular thing, but obviously rally scoring is a format. In such, some of our professional leagues use rally scoring. I'll give them a pass there. Now, and then it goes on to the complementary formats where to play. For tennis clubs and coaches, consideration should be given to if, when, and how complementary formats can be integrated within their facility to meet their desired objectives. For tennis clubs, it says it again. Important facility considerations include club member and area demographics, available playing surfaces, noise. Obviously, that's relevant to pickleball. Wind and residential considerations, existing court utilization through tennis-specific programs. Important. Intended use for courts, social play versus national competitions, capital investment requirements, and insurance. Now, insurance is an interesting one. Obviously, Pickleball Australia, if you're a member, you're typically insured. Pretty much all clubs, that's what your membership gives. There's been a lot of discussion whether the membership provides anything else. And that's probably another discussion for another time in what does your membership actually get you. I'm here nor there on it. It's, once again, if I do an article on that, I'll just provide you the news and you at home can get your own, information and opinion on it. There are a number of court and venue types that can support the integrity of complementary formats. So, dedicated format-specific courts as part of a standalone venue or multi-format facilities provide an opportunity for format-specific programming, including sanctioned competitions, which, as we talked about, we had the AO Slam earlier this year. This court and facility type would best accommodate for the future growth of respective formats. And then we have temporary setups. Selected formats have modest infrastructure requirements, which permits play using temporary nets and line markings. While some participants prefer the singularity and permanency of court infrastructure, this does provide a maximum format flexibility and space utilization for operators. Shared use, so obviously tennis lines, pickleball lines. Although aesthetically the playing court may be compromised due to the presence of multiple lines, done correctly, it can allow for cross-programming organizations and increased the possibility of court utilization. Now, this is pretty interesting here. They actually provide guidelines on, if you have a tennis court, how to put other things on. And overall, it's been made abundantly clear from our tennis clubs that they have their premier courts, which are for Super League and the tennis tournaments, etc., where they will not allow to put on pickleball lines on those courts because as soon as they're on, it's no longer a tournament-friendly court, which I can understand, honestly. Now, Padel has fixed infrastructure requirements, so they have glass walls around everything. So Padel need to be played on a Padel court. Pickleball can play on just about everything. And it's interesting. Now, I did mention why these courts can't really be tampered with sometimes. It should be noted that a fixed perimeter may restrict the club's ability to host sanctioned competitions of selected programs and formats. So then we follow on to governance, which is big. Tennis clubs, a lot of them are anti-pickleball. It's anti-revenue. To me, it's just silly. You're going to make more money, clubs, get on board. When considering the introduction of complementary formats as a tennis facility, it's recommended tennis clubs and operators review their constitution. Really big there. If you've never been in a committee, if you've never been in a position in a club, Your constitution is effectively the rules of the club. You need to abide by those rules. I was a former president, for example. I had to abide and effectively create that constitution for our club to run by, so that when I stood down for president, the next club committee can come on board and keep on building and adhere to the constitution. If you breach your constitution, you get in big trouble. Obviously, Tennis Australia, they have so much financial investment in these clubs that a pickleball court could effectively breach a constitution. There have been lots of examples of this. I'm sure you've seen it all over social media, where tennis clubs have built pickleball facilities over tennis courts and got absolutely reamed. So obviously they've made it abundantly clear here in this particular PDF, you can do it, but it must meet their constitutional needs. So it is recommended that tennis clubs talk to a legal advisor straight away. Bang, we're going legal. If you decide to build pickleball courts, it must be careful, because they will, as we can see here, go down the legal route if you don't. Possible considerations include objectives. Objects should be drafted in such a way that tennis is the priority, but also allows for the playing of other athletic or tennis-related activities. Clubs may consider reviewing the class of membership, either whether pickleball or padel only players are in a different category or a class of membership. This may enable pickleball or padel players to attend general meetings, including the AGM, and have a voice but not vote on key decisions. This is important, guys. You as a player are welcome to attend, but you're not welcome to actually have a say on what matters, which is the revenue stream. This consideration may be necessary to protect the club in achieving its objects and negate the need to amend other areas of the Constitution of Rules. Committees, here we go. Clubs may consider introducing pickleball or padel subcommittees, so subcommittees, not a committee of its own, which reports to the club board or tennis committee for the final decision. Subcommittees with decision-making authority over certain matters specific to pickleball courts that do not have any implications on the broader venue or club. No mention of padel there, just pickleball. A standing position on the committee for padel or pickleball to give a format, a voice on the club committee. This here is pretty strong from TA. As someone that has quite literally built a club, the Constitution is huge. You can't tamper with it. And they have gone right from the start. This is their opinion on it. Yeah, it's form your own opinion on it. But I think this here is a clear indication of their mindset from the get-go. Case studies. Although in the early stages in Australia, there are increasing examples of existing tennis clubs and coaching programs that have successfully integrated complementary formats into their offerings. Case studies find that venue characteristics and area demographics will help determine which formats may be most suitable. That's fair. The strategic introduction of complementary formats does not cannibalize tennis. So we are seeing examples of, I'll talk about pickleball, padel. I don't really have the experience to talk about it, but clubs, as I mentioned, are building pickleball courts over tennis clubs, over tennis courts, and as such, revenue is still being gained for the club, but through pickleball and not tennis. With the right scheduling and infrastructure, the number of tennis players and padel, pickleball, and pop tennis players can continue to grow with these formats when these formats are introduced to tennis facilities. Reviewing constitutional and governance structure is a foundational necessity. Providing complementary format enthusiasts with a voice while allowing the tennis club committee to maintain control of the tennis club remains important. Tennis number 1. Dedicated complementary format courts that are part of the tennis club can increase club membership, vibrancy, and revenue. These formats attract new players and members to the tennis clubs that tennis-only clubs may not. That's positive from TA. Complementary formats may not always be met with immediate acceptance by all tennis clubs, committees, and members. Yeah, that's true. The benefits and risks need to be well researched, trialed, and presented to determine if it is appropriate for the venue. So that gives you a bit of an idea from TA. Once again, this PDF is available on their website if you want to go and have a look at it yourself, especially if you're someone who runs a facility. This is all relevant for how they sort of perceive things going forward. Finally, it was done recently that TA effectively released their own, I guess, branch, which is just pickleballauss.au. So obviously we have the Pickleball Australia website with all of their governance and policies, etc. Tennis Australia have slowly introduced social media pages, and as we can see here, the Pickleball website. Now, this here is an interesting one. It has info, very tertiary, very limited information on where we can say. Obviously, they're building more about this, and more will be released as they go along, so I'll give them a pass. We talk about the AO, which we've already discussed, but the big one here is the where to play. So if you click on that, it brings up a map. Now, for you club committee members, you might not be aware of this, but there are a ton of clubs here that pop up that offer, according to this, pickleball. So they're all obviously tennis clubs. So there we go, Yeppoon Tennis Club, good example. We had the QPT Yeppoon recently. Opens up to their website, and you can just have a look at all of the various groups that pop up. You might not be aware of this, but your club could be potentially looking at, like if we do go down the NSO route, and if there is ended up being a battle between Tennis Australia and Pickleball Australia, to me, this is a clear indication that all of these venues will immediately jump across the TA because it's a constitutional right. They have to. Keep that in mind. So I just wanted to bring this up. This is an interesting little piece of things that from the tennis point of view, all of these clubs around the world, around the country effectively represent Tennis Australia. Okay. And finally, we have the Brisbane Pickleball Classic, which will be going live on the September 26th to 28th. So as I said, those articles that I read were in January. This one here is in September. At the point of recording, it is late August. Gives you a little bit of an idea of, tournaments from the tennis side of things going forward. 16 players currently. I'm not going to sneer at that. We all know it's going to take them a while to build a player base. No problem there. But let's just have a sticky beak of what they've kind of got planned. So the Brisbane Pickleball Classic, 26th to 28th of September, that is the same weekend as the New Zealand Nationals. It's also the weekend before the Australian Pickleball Championships. Done deliberately? Don't know. Interesting? Yes. So they've got a picture of Rose up there. Don't know if Rose gave consent for that picture. I'm assuming so because she played in the AO. I'm guessing she played in the AO, which we discussed earlier. We'll see if there's... Either way, there's a picture of Rose up there. Hopefully she's cool with it. Description. Welcome to the Brisbane Pickleball Classic, where competition meets community and one of Australia's premier grassroots pickleball experiences. I should say QTC is a beautiful arena. We've hosted multiple pickleball tournaments there. I was a tournament director at a tournament there myself. So it's a great facility. The staff there are fantastic. Should hopefully be a good time. Join us in September for unforgettable matches. Vibrant. We'll notice they're talking about vibrancy a lot here. It's clearly one of their key words. And off-court fun, including the rare opportunity to play on Pat Rafter Arena, one of Australia's most iconic stadium courts. With a guaranteed 4 matches per event, every player is assured plenty of time on court to compete, connect, and enjoy the atmosphere. So they only have 2 divisions, which is Opens and Masters. Masters divisions are 40, 50, and 60 plus. And whether you're a seasoned player or returning to the game, these divisions provide a great mix of fun, fitness, and competition. Now, it's interesting here, viewers, that they've gone with the UTR. So it's UTRP. So they're not going with Duper, they're not going with AR, any of those rating systems. This is obviously the tennis rating. They've created their own category for pickleball, which is UTRP, which follows the same effectively numbers that we all know at home. So 2.99 and below for players who are new to the competitive scene, 3.0 to 3.9 for experienced intermediate players, 4.0 and above is for advanced players. Now, it's interesting here because they have all of the bits and bobs from the tournament. Now, if I bring up this PDF, we can look at their tournament space. They've gone and done everything. So I'm going to specifically open up the UTRP because I think we know tournaments by now. We can have a general idea of how they're going to go about it. But Universal Tennis Rating Pickleball, which is the UTRP. Tennis Australia uses UTR as their official rating system. Provisional ratings P1 to P5 are based on a questionnaire until match results are logged. So very similar to how pickleball started back in the day. Separate UTRP ratings are calculated for singles and doubles. Hopefully mixed and gendered. Be interesting how they approach that. The system updates dynamically as players compete. Now, it has all of the bits and bobs. So there's your registration fees. Tournament is just Pickleball Oz. $80 to join plus $20 per event. Or is it 60? Sorry. No, it must be 60. Refund policy. The main thing is they have their policies. So they have a draw size of 32. Rough estimated time. 4 minimum matches per event. Now, as tournament director myself, the golden number is 5. If you can get 5, then players are typically pretty happy. So going for 4 minimum, I don't see a problem with that. They've got all their ratings, etc., playoffs and whatnot. The main thing is they've gone through and done all of this in length. So there you go. There's all of your events. Schedules. They have the schedule live. It's a month before we go public, before the players play, and it's all there. So that's probably one thing that pickleball tournaments currently we need to get better at. We just don't follow a schedule. I know last minute we promote it all. I do not know what a 7-point shootout is, but that's cool. But this is definitely something we need to get better at. And hopefully we can learn from our tennis friends regarding this. Scoring format. So we're rolling rally pickleball scoring. Interesting, because we just looked at an article that didn't even mention rally scoring. So singles are rally, 15-minute rounds. So it's timed. Matches will be 13 minutes of play with 2 minutes for changeover. So you play a timed match with scoring. Doubles are rally, 20-minute rounds. Matches will be 18 minutes of play, and mixed is the same. Any ball that is in play when time expires will be played to its conclusion. So it's a timed tournament. Interesting. Play is continuous with a maximum of 20 seconds per points. Change of end every 10 points. No timeouts are permitted during games. So 20 minutes, no timeouts, unless there is an approved medical timeout or toilet break by the tournament operations team. Here we go. Players are permitted 1 medical timeout of 3 minutes per game at the discretion of tournament operations team. Medical timeout can be extended at the discretion of tournament operations team up to a maximum of 5 minutes. Now, I've talked to a bunch of tennis people over the years. They think a 15-minute medical is outrageous. They think we should not do it at all. Once again, you at home can formalize an opinion on this. Just keeps on going, talks about the service. You would assume they would follow the same rules as us. Coaching and conduct. No interference, line calling, or misconduct allowed. Now, this is something that I've always had a bit of a problem with in the Australian pickleball scene is coaching. Obviously, people that are on the sidelines just call things out all the time. We need to get better at that. People need to stop doing it. I don't have a problem with coaching, but obviously during timeouts, which as they've said, no timeouts allowed. So interesting. Code of conduct. Here we go. And they go through all of it. Prohibitive conduct. They already, before pickleball has even started with Tennis Australia, they already have significantly better conduct rules than we. We do have a code of conduct policy in Australian Pickleball. I'm yet to see it actually be enforced. So that's obviously positive from TA. Spectator behavior. Yeah, so the point is, like, they go into heavy length here for their policies. Prize money. Prize pools vary by tier of event and published in event fact sheet. So if we go back to it, is there any prize money for this event? I won't go on players. I'll leave their privacy, but I don't know if there's anything. Oh, here we go. Prize money structure. Once again, open up another PVDF. Okay, here we go. Here's the prize money for this event. So keep in mind everything we've just discussed. The Brisbane Pickleball Classic Open Divisions, Men's Singles Open, first place $300. Mixed 400 as a team. So subtotal $3,000, just over $3,000. Masters, because there's more divisions, there's more prize money. $250 a team. Masters singles offer less than the opens. Okay. Total prize pool $8,465. Now, for an event that has $16, 16 players, I mean, you know, they're chucking in a fair chunk of money for a relatively small player pool. I will say, I mentioned earlier, they have effectively infinite money. They can just do whatever they want. To them, this is just a drop in the pond. They wouldn't care less about this. It's just more about a show of force, because we've seen tournaments across the country now that we just don't have prize money. There's only a very select few of our pro events that do have prize money. And for Tennis Australia, this is just simply a flex of the muscles. Hey guys, we can do this. And we're happy to do it. Very interesting. You can hop over to UTR Sports to have a look at the Brisbane Pickleball Classic. I'll leave it up here so you can have a sticky beak. And yeah, just goes to show sort of where they're at. They've already got all their policies in check. They've got their prize money structure in check. We've already gone over bits and bobs. Information is there. Straight to the point. I kind of like this. I do think that compared to brackets can be quite tricky to use at times. But yeah, that gives you a little bit of a look at it all. And following all of this, viewers, we're going to jump into, I've reached out to a ton of people across the Australian pickleball scene from a player's perspective, a coach's perspective, facility manager's perspective, to get their take on just the current overall look at things from the tennis world, from the pickleball world, and just their take on it all. It's hopefully by now you've sort of formulated your own opinion, but it's always good to get experienced takes from people around the space altogether. So let's have a look at that. Okay, viewers. So our players, coaches, and managers that have provided quotes from around the tennis and pickleball scene, I have to give them a very big thank you. I will say I reached out to well over 15 individuals and organizations from across pickleball and tennis, and no one wanted to touch this topic. They said, Dylan, we're just going to wait till the dust settles to see who ends up taking over before we want to make a comment. And it's very clear that a lot of people are worried about ramifications, and I suppose just an overwhelming feeling of anxiety when it comes to this particular topic. So I did get 5 quotes, however, and they're from people that have played at a high level, either ex-professional or current, across pickleball and tennis, very high-level coaches and managers that run facilities. So big thank you to these people that have done so. Our first person to give a quote is none other than the super coach, Mike Newell. Coached the Eastern Rush, high-level player in the Masters space himself, and has coached I want to say a very high percentage of a lot of our professional players here in Australia in the pickleball space. So Mike has provided a quote in that he spent 25 years as a tennis coach, from entry level to top 10 in the world. He began pickleball coaching in 2018, where he ran a coaching business traveling around Australia and is now the vice president of strategic development for RAM Sports. RAM Sports, if you don't know, very big deal in pickleball, assisting a lot of our up and coming pros. I asked him how did the TA approach would impact pickleball in Australia. It'd be a very positive development for the sport's growth in Australia. Their established infrastructure, credibility, and reach could accelerate pickleball's visibility and acceptance both at the grassroots and professional level. I asked as a coach, would you rather a TA or PA curriculum? He just flat out said PA. And then I said, regarding integrity and conflict of interest issues, do you think TA or PA would handle these better as the sport grows? He said, I'm going to be very optimistic here and hope for a collaborative approach where TA provides the framework and oversight while PA ensures community alignment. It would give pickleball in Australia the best of both worlds. This balance could safeguard integrity, minimise conflicts of interest, and ensure the sports grow in a way that is both professional and player-centred. Great quote there from Mr. Newell. Thank you very much to him. And, you know, it's good to see coaches providing an insight, and hopefully you at home can shape an opinion based on these professionals and their opinions. My next quote is from the legend herself, Deanna Sutterby. If you've had a chance of playing with Deanna, she's hilarious, by the way. She'd probably tell you she's hilarious too. But also very high-level management from the tennis side of things. They're from Extreme Tennis in Victoria. They are involved with some of the biggest tennis tournaments in the country, straight up. And Deanna plays pickleball a lot. So she's given a little bit of a quote here. Oh, there we go. There's Dylan, big head. There we go. My question was, what are your current and former roles within pickleball and tennis? Roles in tennis. So her husband, Stuart, and I are lifelong tennis coaches who run a coaching business, Extreme Tennis, across 4 venues in Melbourne, which offer coaches to all ages and standards, also offer other associated programs such as cardio tennis tournaments, hot shots clinics, junior senior competition, as a coordinator and as a secretary. My next question would be, what are your thoughts on the Australian pickleball space currently? Do you think TA would approve upon this? She said, the numbers don't lie. It is clear that there is rapid growth and appeal in Australian pickleball. We're seeing more and more people join the game across all levels and ages. The surge is undeniable. In Melbourne, new venues and centres appear to be popping up every week, and I would agree with that. Victorian pickleball is booming right now. However, many either have limited amount of courts, are part of shared spaces with other sports, or have other infrastructural issues. Tennis Australia realises some areas of participation are declining. Pickleball and padel are the new kids on the block in Australia and appear to be booming. So we're seeing a little bit of a common trend here in the pickleball. It's very positive at the moment. And obviously opportunists would like to take advantage of that. As I said earlier, it's just revenue. It's simple. It's a simple money-making exercise, and they should be jumping all over it. Now, we follow on with our quotes from people around the country. My next quote is from the legend from Port Macquarie, Aaron Johnson, also known as the Tomahawk, a professional player within the NPL, coaches throughout rural New South Wales as a tennis and a pickleball coach, and wears some of the best clothing in pickleball, hands down. Shout out Spice Girls. Now, Aaron has said, oh, we've done it again. Dylan, learn your own software. He's a current tennis coach and pickleball player. TA were hesitant to jump on board due to tennis purists in the background hindering the sport. Now they have seen the profits and metrics from pickleball, they want a slice of the pie. I think it's good and bad. As a player, it will be bad as PA is a volunteer organisation, whereas TA is a private company, so it is profit-driven. I believe Pickleball Australia will have an overall positive outlook on pickleball for the future of the sport. On the other side, from a coaching perspective, Tennis Australia is significantly better. The coaching framework for tennis, if transferred correctly to pickleball, will be an improvement. All coaching providers in pickleball have not shown enough depth and understanding to create validity, and this needs to be improved upon immediately. Strong words there from Mr. Johnson, and as someone who's a coach myself, I understand where he's coming from. Obviously, TA have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the coaching side of things, and a lot of it I found, as someone who coached so many new players around the country, it's trial and error. You learn as you go. But obviously having a curriculum that is shaped for all coaches of all different skill levels, Aaron might be onto something here. Our third speaker, or rather our fourth speaker, is a legend from Queensland, Mr. John Latinovich, who is heavily involved with the Yeppoon pickleball space. Now, John, I've had the lovely chance of interviewing him in the past. He's given us an absolute doozy of a quote. We'll see if I muck up my thing here, which John has said. There we go. He's been playing tennis socially for over 50 years, and while I've never been coached, the game has always been a big part of my life. I met my wife through tennis, and together we encourage children to take up the sport with proper coaching. When our children were younger, my wife and I ran Saturday junior competitions and managed inter-district junior teams they were involved in. For the past 10 years, we've also been active members of our local tennis committee, and during that time, my wife served as secretary for 5 years. He was vice president for 2 years, followed by 2 years as president. We're now ordinary members, but still remain closely connected to the club. When pickleball first started gaining attention in Australia, I personally felt Tennis Australia could have been a natural partner. Tennis clubs already had the venues, communities and infrastructure that seemed well suited to support its growth. However, my view has changed based on what I've seen at our own club and in the wider pickleball community. At our club, pickleball has not initially been embraced and has often been met with resistance. Over time, this has created tension between the two sports, particularly around court space, finances, and facility development. In my opinion, Tennis Australia and its state bodies seem concerned about losing ground in overall participation, and especially in the junior ranks. At the same time, they appear to recognise that pickleball's rapid growth could become a valuable revenue stream through memberships, tournaments, merchandise, and media. So from my perspective, tennis organisations do acknowledge pickleball's rise, but their focus seems more on protecting tennis's position and exploring revenue opportunities rather than building a genuine partnership between the two sports. To me, it feels a little like expecting the AFL to run and grow the NRL. They may both be ball games on the field with kicking and passing, but each has its own culture, community, and identity that deserves to grow independently. That's why I believe pickleball is best served by charting its own path. What a quote. John has really delved into it there, and obviously he's got years of experience from both sides of it. Thank you, John. Obviously, shout out to the Yeppoonies, by the way. QPT Yeppoon this year was incredible. Always have a good time when I go back to Yeppoon. Now, our final quote is from a professional pickleballer who has recently rocketed up the charts as becoming one of the best male players in the country. He's playing in the NPL currently, dominant on the singles court. It's none other than Kyle Stoker. Now, Kyle is renowned for a unorthodox play style, I suppose, but he's had the chance of, coaching and learning aside, players like Colin Johns. He was with Gabe Tardio and Jesse Irvine this year at the Australian Pickleball Open. So, he has immediately dived into pickleball head first and coaches both tennis and pickleball himself. So Kyle's quote is that, there we go, we've gone and lost myself again. Kyle's quote, and our final one of our guest quotes, is that he was an ex-professional tennis player representing New South Wales and had mixed experiences as a junior tennis player. I felt like I was left behind and promised things that were not delivered. I was not assisted in any way unless I strictly followed their instructions. I do see an opportunity for pickleball to be taken over, and the question is, why do they want to get involved? Is it strictly money focused, or is it for the love of the game? And it's a fair question, Kyle. I think a lot of our players at home are probably feeling the same way. Like, why? Why are they doing it? Why? What's the end goal here? Obviously, players want what's best for pickleball, but necessarily do the organizations want what's best for pickleball? We'll find out in the long run, I think, viewers, with how this is all sort of panning out. It's obviously going to get very spicy in the year to come. I think 2026 is going to be really big. We saw just yesterday, I believe, at the time of filming, that Pickleball Australia are now hiring for a new person joining their staff. I believe it was officiating, so someone running the refs. And it goes to show, and some of the wording of that, I will say, made it abundantly clear that, they were here first. That's kind of the vibe that I was getting from PA. So let us know your thoughts, viewers, in the comments. Share this video around. This is a discussion that simply needs to be had. Get your tennis friends, get their thoughts. Get your tennis club's thoughts. Because at the end of the day, I'm someone who's, a big believer in the rising tide raises all ships. That's why I play padel. I love that sport. I want that sport to succeed as well. I want tennis to succeed. And I think the collaboration between all of our racket sports together is overall better for everyone in the Australian sporting public. Time will tell, viewers. This will wrap up this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a bit of a long one, but a lot of data and a lot of information for you at home to hopefully form your own opinion. If you haven't yet, please like, share, subscribe to the video, as well as the social media pages. We've got some crazy interviews coming up. It's going to be so much fun. I look forward to seeing you all on the next video or in the next broadcast. This is Dylan Kimlin. Have yourself a lovely day.